Look at all of the modules I've thrown into this 62 HP system today. A lot of the things I've picked are pretty versatile and pack a lot of features into a small module footprint, which is handy for the system if we're imagining it as a standalone setup or as part of a larger pedal board. At the very left here we have the board brain injector, and that's going to be our primary way of getting audio in and out of our system. Next to that, we have Boundary, Schlappy Engineering's take on the cycling slew generator. There's also a 4-quadrant VCA in there that's really handy for getting gnarly ring mod sounds. Next we have the Crate from Dni Pro Modular. This little guy is a 3-channel source of modulation where each channel can be assigned to be a knob recorder, clocked LFO, or random voltage generator. Moving on, we have the Vinca from Instro, which is a handy dual-channel VCA in a compact form factor. The ever-handy Pico Mixer from Erica Synths, which is super good for summing signals together if we feel like making parallel signal paths. Finally, getting into our effects modules, we have the new FSU from Tip Top Audio. FSU stands for Fuck Shit Up, and it contains 3 banks of 8 effects each with cool glitching, warping effects, sound-on-sound looping, and gnarly distorted effects as well. We've also got the Imitor Versio from Noise Engineering, but we're also going to try out a couple of the other firmwares that they have to offer. The cool thing about the Versio modules is that you buy one of them, but they have a whole bunch of other firmwares available for free that you can flash onto the module and try at any given time. For our final 3U module at the very right here, we have the Beatrix from Expert Sleepers, which is one of their new all analog modules. This particular one is an awesome phaser. We have both the Mosaic line input and the IntelliGel stereo line output. Now, of course, we already have input and output available to us on the injector, but having a bit more options to get audio in and out of this system gives it a bit more versatility in a number of other configurations. Next, we have 2 handy foot switch adapters from Ritual Electronics. We have the Flexibilite, which is an expression pedal adapter, and the Pointus, which allows us to plug in a toggle switch and gives us the option to route one signal to 2 destinations or swap between 2 inputs into the single output. We have the Golden Master from Endorphins in its new 1U format. This is a 3-band EQ and compressor that I just find to be really handy on the guitar, whether we're scooping and carving out frequencies or just getting some nice gluey compression onto our guitar signal. The patches that I'm showing off in this video are actually fairly identical to each other. The main difference being that in either one I'm switching to a different mode on the FSU or flashing a different firmware onto the Versio. So for our first patch that opened up the start of this video today, I have the Versio flashed with the Lacrima Versio firmware, which gives us auto wah, amp style saturation, and a little bit of chorus as a nice touch on top as well. On the other hand, the FSU is set to the glitch chorus mode. When playing these sort of intricate math rock-like guitar lines, I often like to layer in some sort of ambient or textural type sound on top of what's going on, and this particular mode on the FSU is rather adept at doing that. Now for that second patch you've just heard, we've gone in a bit more of an ambient direction. For our Versio, I've swapped it over to the Imitor Versio firmware, which is a super sick multi-tap delay with pitch shifting or a bunch of other wild things going on. While the FSU, I've dived into the sound on sound bank and chosen a frozen plate algorithm. By patching a voltage output from the pointus into the FSU gain input, you can use this mode to capture notes as you're playing to create these long cascading chords that dwell in ambient spaces almost indefinitely, while the shimmering multi-tap delays from the Imitor give real interesting life to your lead lines that you're playing. We have another layer thanks to the Beatrix, giving us some nice undulating phase shifting in the background as well. Of course, with our first two patches, you saw how well this system works as a standalone, all-in-one unit, but for this bonus patch here, we're going to show how this system can be a part of a larger pedal board as well. This is actually one of the reasons I put several audio input and output modules on this system, because if you're using one of these multi-channel loop switchers, you have multiple entry points into the system that you can inject audio in between your other guitar pedals and treat them as separate effects within themselves and just have separate sub-patches going on within your greater system. For the actual sound of this patch, I'm running the Ruina Versio firmware, which is a gnarly over-the-top distortion, and we have some responsive dynamic phase shifting happening from the Beatrix. And as I play these sort of low-end, thumpy, bass line-like things on my guitar, you'll hear how girthy and responsive it actually is. So aside from the rad effects themselves, one of the main points of this system is actually the boundary, because regardless of how the rest of the patch is going, I can patch program this module to be whatever source of control voltage I need it to be, whether it's an LFO, an envelope generator, or even an envelope follower. It gives us so much versatility in how we can use it, and it brings life to our patches in a number of different ways. Well, that's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know down in the comments below what Eurorack modules you like to use to process your guitar or any other instrument you might be using with your synthesizer.